Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. We really appreciate you joining us today and really appreciate the time to hang out with us. So that very first thing is going to be our sound check. So please hit us up in the chat and tell us where you're signing in from. Number one, that tells us if you can hear us loud and clear. And number two, it's always just cool to see where people are signing in from. So please don't be shy. Open up that chat and just let us know where you're signing in. All right, I can see a few different personal messages coming through. It looks like people are signing in from a few different places around the globe. So that's always cool to see that it's a global webinar as well. So really appreciate that. Now, today, obviously, we're here to do a barcode scanning webinar. And this is a way that you can figure out if this tool is a fit for your business. And what we have is a very good mix of attendees today. And this is a mix of current customers as well as people that are seeing Finale for the very first time. So if you're looking to find out if the barcode scanner is a fit for your business, you definitely come to the right place. So what we'll be doing today is going through a quick PowerPoint. We'll just learn a little bit more about what some of the features the Finale barcode scanner has. We'll be doing also a quick demonstration of those features that we'll be discussing. And then lastly, we'll finish off everything with a Q&A. So feel free to hold your questions to the end, and we'll be doing a full Q&A to get those questions answered. So without further ado, what I'll do is go ahead and start sharing our PowerPoint and get this webinar started. Great. So first, let's do a quick little agenda. So as we know, we're doing an introduction to the Finale barcode scanner. So that's going to be about 15 minutes or so. We'll do a short demonstration of that barcode scanner. So that'll be about 20 minutes. And then the rest of that time is going to be completely dedicated to the Q&A. So first, a little bit about me. I am a customer relations team manager here at Finale, and I have been working here for about 2 years. And at this point, something interesting about me is that I was actually a Finale customer for 3 years prior to joining the team. So I've been in this company or around this company rather for quite some time. And while being here, I've successfully trained and onboarded hundreds of customers while at Finale. So the benefits of using the barcode scanner are accurate and efficient stock takes. So cycle counting or your physical inventories throughout the year, for example, locating your inventory quickly. Obviously, if you have a large warehouse, finding inventory and getting that inventory quickly is of the utmost importance. And picking and receiving accuracy, that goes without being said. That's one of the most important things, especially to a living and breathing warehouse. And lastly, is a shorter training period for new staff. Now, when should we introduce the barcode scanner? Well, there are a few times that make transitioning a little bit easier. Number one, if you're moving into a new warehouse or expanding an existing one. So, obviously, as you're adding a larger warehouse, for example, that is a great time to actually add the barcode scanner to your workflow. Introducing a new software, as an example, if you're just adding Finale for the very first time, it's great to add the barcode scanner at the same time. So you're only training your team once on one workflow. Or another example is if you're adding ShipStation, for example, a shipping software in your workflow, that's another great time to introduce the barcode scanner, just because, again, you're training once versus training multiple times. Now, expanding into a new marketplace is another great time to go ahead and use a barcode scanner. Sometimes that means that you're going to be increasing your product count, for example, or you're just going to be selling on another marketplace. So you need to make sure that your accuracy is there. And lastly, hiring more people. And that ties in a little bit to the shorter training period. So rather than trying to go and teach your staff about all the products and making sure they know every little nuance, just using Finale's barcode scan to verify is a very easy way to reduce that training period when you're hiring more people. Now, when should we be using a barcode scanner? Well, the answer isn't always clear, but there are definitely some great indicators, and we'll go through a few of them here. So, number one, if you're having trouble finding products within the warehouse, great time to start using a barcode scanner. ordering more inventory because you misplaced it. And that is such a common thing that I'm sure a lot of people on this call have experienced. So great time to add the barcode scanner. High picking error rate. That's an easy one. Slow or inefficient picking process. And that's something that we deal with all the time here at Finale. Lack of accountability and audit capabilities. So obviously the barcode scanner records each and every transaction. And the most important thing is who actually did that transaction. And lastly, scalability for the future. So if your business is growing and that's the main goal here, the barcode scanner is a great way to assist with that. Now, Finale requirements for the barcode scanner are pretty simple. So number one, you need to be on a gold account level and above. And this is available on both the monthly and annual plan options. So it's not just one or two. You can go ahead and choose either monthly or annual, and that barcode scanner would be enabled on the account. And second is it's going to be Android OS devices only. So technically, Android's actually the only company that is in the barcode scanner market still. And that Finale app is available right on the Google Play Store. Now, the very next thing is obviously what type of devices are we even talking about? So there's a couple different ones here. Now, the leftmost image is going to be a phone. So if you are just using a phone, Finale's barcode scanner app can actually interact with the camera on your phone, and that becomes the scanner. So if you did want to use a phone, that's absolutely appropriate to be used with Finale's barcode scanning app. And secondly, the two images, the middle and the rightmost image, those are your classic warehouse barcode scanners with that pistol grip. Those are built to be rugged, drop, used on forklifts, a lot of different things. And those are typically the devices that we recommend for those reasons that I just said. And again, all of those different types of devices do come with Android OS. Now, getting into some of the barcode scanner operations that Finale supports, number one is purchase order receiving. So again, accuracy during the receiving process, order picking or your fulfillment process, stock changes, and those are small adjustments within the warehouse, whether that be an add or remove of stock. You may be, if you're a current customer, you may be familiar with that in the web browser, but you can do that right away on the barcode scanner in the aisles. Stock takes, or in other words, cycle counts, if you're using a different terminology. So again, going back to your weekly, your monthly cycle counts, or possibly your annual inventories, those can all be done with the barcode scanner, increasing the efficiency and accuracy there. And lastly, the stock transfer, which is fairly self-explanatory, but that is just moving your product from one place to another within the warehouse. So purchase order receiving, let's hone in a little bit there. So number one, it improves the receiving accuracy through scan verification. And that's going to be a very, very common theme throughout this entire presentation is accuracy. Number two, we can learn your serial numbers or batch lot IDs during the receiving process. So an example of that for a serial number would maybe electronics. So for example, if you're selling some sort of a tablet, for example, and you need to know exactly which unit went to a customer, we have the ability to learn that serial number on the receive and also track that on the fulfillment process. Now, for batches and lot IDs, some examples of those would be medical supplies, food, for example, or any sort of manufactured good. A lot of times you need to track what was the batch of those goods. So again, if there is any sort of a recall or a need to understand which exact unit was sent over to a customer during the fulfillment process, that is exactly what Finale's barcode scanner does. And the last two is verifying the put away process. So obviously we're going to understand exactly where you put that product away. And again, for the audit capabilities is going to be recording the exact team member performing the receiving task. Now, when it comes to order picking, again, improves picking accuracy through scan verification. The second is going to be system directed picking. And there are a few different ways that we do this. The most popular is going to be by sublocation or bin location if you use a different terminology. So therefore, we will guide you through the warehouse in the most efficient manner, sorting by sublocation or standard bin ID. And there's a few other ones as well. That is a widely used feature within the barcode scanner. Scan to remove serial number. So the same thing I just talked about, we can receive and understand the serial or the lot that you received, and then also understanding the lot or serial number that you took during the fulfillment process. visual confirm or deny prompts based on scan. And that's something that I will be showing you in this presentation as well. So for example, if you pick the correct item, we'll give you a big green check mark. And if you pick the wrong item, we're going to give you a big red X. So there's no guessing. We'll tell you exactly whether that's the right product, the wrong product, as well as a few other confirm or deny prompts. And lastly, and this is something that we'll be going over, is there are various picking methods within Finale. Now, in terms of the picking methods, there are 4 different picking methods here. The first being basic pick. So as simple as that, it's one order at a time. Wave picking and pick and pack is a method of picking multiple orders at a time. And then the order batches is another method of picking multiple orders at a time. However, you're calling up all of those orders using a single ID, and that can be with any number of orders. There's no limit to the batch. Now, to get a little bit more granular, basic picking, again, single order picking method. You would print one order, scan one order, and go ahead and pick that. And the barcode scanner would guide you through the warehouse, directing you to the exact sublocation and product to pick for that. With wave picking, it's a little bit different. Again, it's a way to pick multiple orders at a time, and you'd be using a cart very similar to the second image on the right on this particular slide. So that cart, for example, has 20 different slots, and you can go through the warehouse in the most efficient manner and grab everything that you need. So you're essentially packing as you're going because you're assigning an order to the box or the slot, and then going ahead and scanning the product and putting it in the very appropriate box for that. Now, pick and pack, this is a picking method that separates the fulfillment process a little bit into 2 phases. Now, for these 2 phases, the first is going to be what we call the gather step. So regardless of the order, Finale will guide you through your entire warehouse to grab everything required for orders that have been scanned in. That is the gather step. Now, the second step here is going to be the pack. So essentially, the pack step is where what we call putting the product into the final box where you're actually going to be putting the shipping label on that. So essentially, to reiterate, you go through the warehouse one time, get everything that you need. You bring that back to a table, for example. We call it a packing station. You could call it a shipping area. It really doesn't matter. It's an area where you're going to be packing the products into the final boxes and putting that shipping label on there. Now, order batches, this is a method where you can easily, again, call multiple sales orders using a single ID. Now, it's going to use the same picking processes as the basic pick and the pick and pack. However, the big difference here is you're only entering one ID, and this could be alphanumerically, basically anything that you'd like. And this is going to call up a group of orders. Now, what are batch ID? So it's a unique identifier that, again, can call up a batch of sales orders. Now, there's 2 ways to create a batch within Finale. Number 1 is going to be using Finale, and we do have the ability to batch orders and call those up on our scanner. But number 2, we work very closely with ShipStation as well, and we're able to interact with ShipStation batches. Now, this is particularly useful if you group orders in many different ways. And with ShipStation or with Finale, you can group some orders. And a lot of different ways to do that would be grouping by type, by product, or by picking method. Now, the next question is usually, when should I actually use these different picking methods? Well, there's a lot of different scenarios here, and you could use a mixture. It typically isn't just one and done, although some companies are like that. You can use a hybrid style in terms of determining what order picking method should I go ahead with. The first one that we'll talk about, and that's just going to be this top line, and that's going to be the low number of orders to pick. Well, guess what? Basic pick is probably a good idea for you. You just go out in the warehouse one at a time, grab what you need. If you have orders with different items on each order, medium to high order volume with unique products on each order, and that's an important one, we would obviously recommend the wave pick for those types. And if you have orders with one or few of the same items on each order, with medium to high order volume, and there's similar items on each order, we would then recommend the pick and pack. Now, as I said, order batches can be used with any of these different types of situations. So if you are somebody that batches or prefers to do things that way, you can absolutely use any of those situations and call those orders up with the order batch. Now, that is essentially our full presentation there. The main point of this is to go straight into our barcode scanner and show you a live demonstration of how that actually works. So let's go ahead and jump right into Finale. Okay, so now that we are here on the Finale home screen, I'll do a quick introduction of what we're actually going to be working on today. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and receive a purchase order. So we'll be bringing some units into stock, and those units will have lot identifiers. So if you are using serialized stock or batches, for example, we're absolutely going to be using that. Number two, we're going to be doing a transfer within the warehouse to show you some of the stock operation that can occur within your actual warehouse. And then lastly, we're going to go directly into the sales or fulfillment process. And we're going to use a couple different methods. One is going to be fulfilling a wholesale order, something larger, where we'll use the basic pick method. And the second will be fulfilling similar to e-commerce orders, and we'll be using the order batch method. So you'll be able to go straight ahead and see exactly what those look like. So what I'll do here is introduce you to our products. So let's go over to our stock page. And the first thing I'll do is filter down to a category called medical supplies. And these will be the different products that we'll be playing with today. So we have product IDs 100 through 102. We have hand sanitizer, masks, and latex gloves. And what we'll notice here is that right now we don't have anything on hand, although we do have some purchase orders that have been created on this account already. So we can go ahead and go straight into the purchase order screen and take a look at this. Now, once we're in our purchase order screen, obviously we can see all of our open purchase orders and their fulfillment status or shipment statuses. And let's go into the one that we'll be working on today. So what we'll notice is I have all of our information pre-filled. I have our products that we're to be receiving. And what I can see is that I have a quantity of 500, 200, and 300 units. So let's go ahead and receive this particular order. So what I'll do first is print out this purchase order with barcode. And this is just to highlight that obviously we'll be pulling up orders using the actual barcode scanner. So this barcode right here essentially just means this purchase order number. And if your suppliers supply you with a packing slip that includes a barcode, that's even better. That is ideal. However, that is not required. So I'm just going to bring up a rack image so we can have a visual here, and I will bring up the Finale scanner. Now, the first thing that I'll go into is our receive. And what it's going to ask us for, again, is that order ID. So if you do have a barcode available, you can go ahead and scan that. But you can also type. If you can see the screen here, you're going to obviously, you have the ability to click and choose. So any open order that is in a committed status would be in that list. So I'm going to go ahead and scan this order in, and this is where we will start this demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and scan the purchase order. So that's going to call 103043, the one that we're working on. And the first thing that it will ask me is, where am I putting this by default? And by the way, you can always change the sublocation during this time. So let's go ahead and scan A3, and that's where we're going to start this. And by the way, when we're looking at this racking image, these are the sublocations that I will be describing. We have A1, A2, and A3. And whenever I'm describing a UPC scan, I'm describing scanning a barcode that is directly on the products themselves. So again, I'm going to go ahead and scan A3, and that's the top of our rack. So once I do that, that's going to bring us into our receiving module. And the one thing that's going to ask us immediately for is to scan the first product. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that palette, for example, and I'm going to scan in my latex glove. So once I do so, what you'll notice is that we've auto-filled 300 because that is what's on the purchase order. Now, that is a setting. If you don't want us to autofill the quantity, we can absolutely turn that off, but that is the setting that I'm using today. And I'm going to say, yes, I did go ahead and receive all 300. That is what I counted on the pallet. So once I've done that, you'll get a visual prompt that tells us that we have 300 of 300 units. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the sublocation, and I'm going to go to A2, and let's go ahead and put our masks away. So I go ahead, I scan my A2 barcode, And again, visual prompts of A2 and A2. So we know where we're putting our product away. And I'm going to go ahead and scan our masks. So again, autofilled our quantity. We know we're putting away in A2. I'm going to say, yes, that is correct. 200 of 200. Now, for the very last one, I'm going to go ahead and change it over to A1, and that's where my hand sanitizer is going to be going. So I'll change that sublocation. But for this particular one, I'm actually going to bring in some batch or lot IDs for this. So this is a product within my warehouse that I would like to track it just in case there's any sort of a recall. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open up my lot ID field. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and do a UPC scan first. So I'm going to let the system know we are scanning in the hand sanitizer. So once I've done so, what you'll notice is that it has opened up the lot ID box. And now all we're putting in is that batch number or lot number, depending on your terminology. So I'll go ahead and scan that. And typically that is available on the master carton or on the products themselves. Now here, I actually have two different batches that my suppliers sent over to me. So not everything is actually from a single batch. So I'm going to designate that 250 units are a part of my S100 batch. And there we go. We have our visual prompt. It's going to tell us that we've received 250 of 500 units. And I'm going to go ahead and receive the rest of this, which is on a second batch. So I'll scan that UPC for the hand sanitizer. It's going to bring me over to my lot ID. So I'm going to go ahead and scan in the next lot, which is S101. And then once I do so, what I'll see is that we've autofilled 250. So we are not going to allow you to over receive unless you physically actually want to do that. We're only going to autofill what is remaining to be received. So I'm going to say, yes, that's exactly what I need. I do have my 500 of 500. I have my receive completed. So now I'm comfortable going ahead and exiting this receipt. So once I've done so, you'll also have a visual that there's information that needs to be pushed to the cloud. So I'll go ahead and I will sync that. Fantastic. So once I've done so, and I'll remove this document, I don't need that anymore. I can go ahead and do a quick browser refresh, and that's going to give me the status of fully received. So there we go. I can now see that my shipment status on this particular purchase order is fully received. And if I were to go over to my shipments tab, this is where now I'm going to show some information on the receive itself. So number one, I can see that I've received the full shipment and it matches my order. I can see the sublocations at which I've received my inventory. So again, I can understand exactly where I put that away. And lastly, you'll see mixed here. And what this means is that we have received two separate batches or lot IDs. And this is going to be S100 and S101. And the very last thing I'll point out rather, is that again, it's always going to log exactly who did what with a timestamp. So the very last thing I'll do with this purchase order, I'll just go ahead and bill it. And this is actually a new functionality of our screen. So I can go and bill that right from that screen and complete the order. So now I have my fully billed, fully received, completed purchase order. So let's go see what happened to my stock. And I'll filter back down to our category. Now, at this point, what you'll notice is that we do have units on hand. At a glance, you can obviously look at our sublocation section here, and this will tell you exactly where the units are. And then in addition to that, you can always open up your stock and take a look at exactly where what the stock is in terms of your lot or batch information. So with that being done, what I'll do is a quick transfer within our warehouse. So what I'd like to do is move some of these masks. So again, I'm going to call up our image here so we can have a visual, and I'll call up our barcode scanner. And this time I'm going to go over to a transfer operation. So I will go ahead and hit the more button. I will hit transfer. And this time there are a few different options here, and I'm going to use transfer individual because I'm only moving one item. So here we go. The very next thing it's going to ask us for is to go ahead and scan the product to let Finale know what you're moving. So I will scan our masks, and I'm going to move a quantity of 25. Now, once I've done so, the system's going to go ahead and ask me, where am I moving this from? So I can go ahead and scan A2, and that's where I'm moving it from. Now, the next thing it's going to ask us is where are we putting this to? Where are we moving it? So again, I'm going to tell the system that I'm moving it to A3. So I'm going to go ahead and scan that particular sublocation on the rack. And there we go. As simple as that, that 25 has been moved, and Finale is letting us go ahead and move on right to the next transfer. Now, before I leave, you'll always be able to recall what you've done. And this is just something we call review edit items. And what you'll notice is that we're showing we've moved 25 units from A2 to A3, and it's going to be product 101, the mask. So with that being done, that's actually the only transfer that I'll be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and exit to that main menu. So once I do so, I can go ahead and sync that back to the cloud. There we go. Success, no errors. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh my browser in the web here. Perfect. So going back down to our medical supplies, this is where we'll be able to see again. Now we have, A2 and A3 that are showing. And when I'm opening this up, again, a kind of a quick view of what's happening here. So I've moved a few things around. I did have some existing stock already. So I've moved some stock from A2 to A3, and that's all being recorded by the scanner. And in addition to that, it's recorded exactly who performed that transfer. So with that being done, what I'll do is I'll move directly into the sales portion, or in other words, the fulfillment process. So now that I'm in the sales order module here, again, very similar screen to our purchase order. This is basically where you're going to be doing all of your order management. If you're doing that within Finale, if you are an e-commerce customer and you are using ShipStation, for example, some customers will use the order management there. But at any rate, all we're doing is going ahead and picking the order with the Finale barcode scanner. Now, I do have a few different types of orders. So order 103037, this is going to be my high dollar wholesale order that I'll be going to pick. And this has multiple products. We'll be using a basic pick for this particular order. And for the subsequent 3 orders, these are actually orders that are coming from my Shopify. So again, smaller e-commerce style orders from consumers. And what I can see over here is that we have order 101, here. So basically one product, and we also have multiple products. So what we'll notice is that I already have a batch here, and this is something that you can do very, very easily within Finale. So all you need to do is just click, and you can go ahead and add it to the batch, and you can call it whatever you'd like. So I have a batch queued up here, and it is 5009. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and pick that wholesale order. So let's go ahead and print my pull sheet so I can go ahead and scan a barcode. So my pull sheet here, the most important thing is going to be my barcode scanner, although we do have other information of what's actually on the order as well. So the first thing that I'll do is go ahead again and bring up my rack image. And I'll bring up my scanner. So I should already have these orders on my scanner right now. So if I were to go over to pick, I'm going to go to basic pick. Again, this is how we pick orders one at a time. So I'll use that for my larger wholesale order. And here you're going to be asked with how much level of verification do you want? Now, scan every item is going to be the most level of verification. We're asking you to scan each and every product and let us know the quantity. However, there is another method with less verification, and this only requires the scan of the order itself. So in the theme of verifying, I'm going to go ahead and use scan every item. And again, we're going to be tasked with giving Finale the order ID. So again, this can come from a type, it can come from a scan, or you can just go ahead and click. So I'll go ahead and scan. So there we go. And what Finale is telling us is that we are at A1. So that is my very first position within the actual warehouse, and it's sorting based on alphanumeric. So I'll go ahead and scan the very first product. And this is where a batch number scan comes into play. So I'll go ahead and scan that batch, which is going to be S100. And I'm going to tell the system that I am grabbing 200 units. There we go. Big check mark. Now, what you'll notice is that it's going to tell us where to go next. So it's going to say go to A2 and scan the A2 barcode because Finale knows that you're at A1 at this point. So again, you may be walking, throughout the warehouse for this. I have a very simple example of a single bay, but I will go ahead and scan A2 to tell the system where I am. So now that I've done so, you have a couple visual indicators of where the barcode scanner expects you, and it's going to ask you to go ahead and scan your mask. So I'll go ahead and do that. So once I've done so, again, I'm just confirming and counting that I've taken 100 units of that mask off the shelf, for example. I'm going to hit enter, and there we go with our big check mark. Now, the next one, it's going to tell us go to A3. So as simple as that, let's go scan that barcode. And again, it's going to ask us for the product. Now, let's just say I go ahead and I scan the actual wrong product. Let's see what happens there. So I'm scanning the wrong product, but I'm putting in the correct quantity. Well, it's going to give us that visual prompt. So you've already saw those big check marks. This big red X is going to be your employee's way of knowing, hey, I grabbed the wrong thing. Let me double check and grab the right thing off the shelf. So I'm going to hit undo. And I'm going to go ahead and scan the correct product. So let's go ahead and scan those latex gloves and enter the correct quantity. So what we're going to get is our big check mark. We're going to hit OK. We're going to get another big check mark that order is done. And we can actually move on and go ahead and pick the next order. So there's not a sync in a one-to-one relationship. You can pick as many orders as you need and go ahead and pick those within Finale. So what I'll do is I'll exit. And this is where I could go ahead and sync, but I actually want to go directly into another pick. So I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'm going to use order batches. And if you remember, this is a picking method that allows you to call up multiple orders using a single ID. And that ID is 5009. So I'll click that order batch it. I'm going to go ahead and scan my order, my batch ID rather. And now I'm tasked with the decision of am I going to be using basic pick or pick and pack? And for this, there's some e-commerce orders and they match this workflow. So I'll go ahead and use pick and pack. And again, this is a two-step method. So let's go ahead and hit gather order batch. And again, the system directed picking is going to go ahead and kick in. So let's go ahead and tell the system what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and scan A2. And now I'm going to go ahead and scan the box of masks. And what you'll notice is that it's asking us for a quantity of 5. And that's for all of the different orders. So I'll go ahead and scan that. Now, once I've done that, I'm just going to let Finale know that I'm doing 5. Get that big check mark again. And then it's going to ask me to go grab the next product on the actual order itself. So again, scanning and confirming. And then I can go ahead and scan my latex gloves. There we go. And confirming that I've grabbed one off the shelf. And that's it. I get my big check mark, and it's going to tell me that all items have been picked for, and I'll just go and visually reference this, for all 3 of these orders. Now, once I've done that, what Finale is going to ask us for is a packing sublocation. So what that is referring to is a station at which you're putting things into the final box. Some people might call it a shipping area. Some people might call it a packing station. You're just telling Finale, where am I putting this so I can pack it into the final box? So I'm going to call this packing, and then we'll get a quick summary that says, hey, everything is complete. Nothing's been missed. Nothing is remaining, and everything is at packing. So I'm going to hit OK. And again, I could go ahead and sync at this point, but I'm going to go directly back into that pack step. So if we remember, the pack step is really where we're putting it into that final box. So again, calling up all these orders by the batch that I have associated, the 5009. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then this is where I'm going to go back into pick and pack. And this time it's going to be step 2. And this is getting products into the final boxes. So again, confirm where I am. Yes, I'm at packing. And again, you're prompted with the choice of level of verification. Number one being most level of verification. Number three being the least level of verification. And this one is one you haven't saw yet. So essentially what Pack All at Once can do is Finale will just understand that, hey, you put the right thing in the right box and there's no product or order ID scan that are required here. Now for me, again, the theme here is verification. So let's go ahead and use scan every item. And this is where we're going to start actually putting things into the correct boxes. So typically you may have these printed beforehand, you may have them printed after, and these are going to be your packing slips or your pull sheets. I'm going to use a pull sheet here, but again, Finale has the ability to customize many, many documents. So when I say I'm scanning the order ID, this is the barcode that I'm talking about, and it just means this order ID. And right now I have 3 separate orders that I'll be going ahead and scanning and putting them into the correct box. Let's go back to our barcode scanner and scan order ID number 1. So there we go. This particular order only takes 1 box of masks. So I'll scan the masks and I'll put 1 to confirm that I've done so. Big check mark. This order is done. I move on to my next order. And this particular order is going to take 2 boxes of masks. So again, I just scan my boxes of masks. I confirm that I'm doing 2. Hit enter. Big check mark again, always with the visual prompts. And another big check mark that that order is done. Now for the final order here, I'm going to go ahead and scan that. And once I've done so, this particular order is going to take 2 boxes of masks. So I'll scan that. And this is going to be a quantity of 2. And what we'll notice here is that I have item 1 of 2. So this is actually a multi line order. So the first line is right here. This is going to be the box of masks. Big check mark. And for that very last product, this is going to be our latex glove. So scanning those, again, confirming the quantity, and I'll hit enter, and that's it. That's all of my items and orders completed. So once I've done so, again, we can move on to the next one if there are any. Aside from that, we could exit to our main menu. I have actually relieved my entire packing station. So I'll do that, and I'm going to go ahead and sync that scanner. And this is pushing that information from the scanner to the cloud. So there we go. I get my success message. I'm going to go ahead and close these particular windows, and I'll refresh my browser so I can take that signal from the scanner. So now what you'll notice is we previously were not packed or shipped, and now we are in a status of packed. Now Finale does have the ability to ship directly from the scanner as well. However, I'm using a setting where we pack the order. And what that means to us is that the order has been picked, it has been packed, and now it is staged to be shipped out the door. So for our e-commerce orders, all we're waiting for is the shipment signal or fulfillment signal from either your shipping software, i.e. ShipStation, for example, or possibly your selling channel or your marketplace. So that's where we get the fulfillment signal from here. However, for this internal order here, which is my wholesale order, we can go into this, and I just want to highlight a couple of things. So number 1, we can go over to our shipments tab, and this is where we can go ahead and ship it, obviously add our care and our tracking number and a few other pieces of information. So I'll go ahead and ship. I'm not worried about my tracking number for this example. So I'll ship. And once I've shipped, this is where we're going to have access to that packing slip. And once we have access to that packing slip, this is going to designate to your customer exactly what they got. And the one thing that I wanted to draw your attention to is obviously going to be this lot identifier here. So if we remember, we received lot number S100 for our hand sanitizer, and we learned that on the way in. Now, on the way out, this is where we've also scanned that exact lot identifier and identified that S100 is the particular unit that went out to Nelson Group, for example. So now that that's done, that is pretty much it. And we can just go ahead and complete our sale. So at this point, I'll just navigate back to our homepage here. And this is essentially the end of that demonstration. Just to reiterate what we did today, we went ahead and received a purchase order. We also received that with lot identifiers. Once we had those particular units in our inventory, we also did a transfer from one shelf to another. And then lastly, we went ahead and picked a couple different types of sales order, one being a wholesale order, which is larger quantities, and the second being a group of e-commerce orders where they are smaller in item count. However, we use the batch ID approach to easily and quickly fulfill those orders. So with that being said, what I'll do is go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And what we can do is hop right into the Q&A. So I will take a quick sip of water here and we can go ahead and start that. Okay. All right, let me bring up the Q&A. Perfect. It looks like a few are pouring in now. So the very first question here is, can the scanner be used for picking and receiving product IDs with bill of materials? So typically you're not receiving a product ID with a bill of material. You're actually receiving the components of for those bill of materials. So essentially, no, you're not receiving based on a bill of materials. You're receiving on the products that have been ordered on the PO. And the next question is, when scanning items, if I sold 3 quantity in one order, and can I scan the item 3 times, or do I need to manually type the quantity into the scanner? That's a really great question, and that actually comes down to some Finale settings. So the setting that I was using is actually displaying the quantity box. So i.e., I'm going ahead and typing that in. But we do have a setting to turn the quantity box off. So that would require you to scan, in this example, 3 different times. So that is a setting that we do have. Could you show a stock take? So that's something that we didn't have as a part of this webinar, just so we can keep it short and sweet. Now, at finaleinventory.com, we do have a full video tutorial section, and one of those sections is for the mobile barcode scanner. And we do have a full video dedicated to stock take. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to service@finaleinventory.com, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions that you do have. Now, can you review the picking wholesale orders again? I missed a few steps. So for that particular one, again, we do have a lot of different resources on our website. And you should look at the basic picking tutorial. It can also be called discrete picking as well. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Service. Can you create a sales order from the mobile barcode scanner? So for that, no, unfortunately not. The mobile barcode scanner requires the sales order, or the purchase order for that matter, to be created before they actually reach the mobile barcode scanner. So no, you cannot create sales orders on the scanner itself. What are the most common problems you have seen with the barcode scanners? So, I mean, there's a lot of different problems that different companies can have. Now, whether that be process-based or the physical things that your team does in the warehouse, the scanner works on very finite logic. So, we're looking for scans. We are looking for, obviously the correct quantity, the correct product. So it really depends on what your question is. And again, if you have some specific situations or scenarios that you'd love to talk through, just reach out to us at service@finaleinventory.com, and we'd be happy to discuss those with you. How do you pick directly from random sublocation? So I don't understand the full context of that question, but if you have product that exists in multiple sublocations within your warehouse, that is something that we absolutely support. So as an example, if the scanner directs you to a sublocation that you do not want to pick from, you can go ahead and check where is this product located in some other areas of the warehouse. So I hope I answered that question for you correctly. If I didn't, again, just reach out to us and we're happy to answer. And the next question is, if you receive purchase orders in full through the scanner, will it automatically mark the purchase order fully completed? So the answer is no. Once you fully receive an order with the scanner, what that does is it will send a fully received status to that particular purchase order. It still requires a user to go ahead and complete the order. And that is actually the way that we set the system up specifically, because a lot of times after that receive takes place, you're going to have to go ahead and receive an invoice from your supplier for that shipment. Therefore, we don't complete orders automatically for you, specifically based on the invoice. And the next question is, if a company is using ShipStation and the inventory from Finale is integrated, when you ship in Finale, will it automatically print labels from ShipStation? So for that particular answer, and I'll keep this as brief as possible, the answer is no. When you're using ShipStation in your workflow, typically you will go ahead and print your shipping label or mark the order as shipped in ShipStation, and Finale actually receives the signal from ShipStation. So what Finale does is it puts it into that pack status that I was talking about. And once we receive the signal from ShipStation that the order has been shipped, that's when we go ahead and ship the order and complete it automatically on your behalf within Finale. The next question is, how is it possible to pick bundles using the barcode scanner? So this actually really depends on your setting for your bill of materials or your bundled product. We do have two different settings: expand bill of materials or never expand bill of materials, if you're familiar with that. And essentially, if you have expand bill of materials as the setting, the scanner will ask you to go ahead and pick the components rather than the finished good itself. However, if you're using our builds, or in other words, the assembly tool within Finale, we can also have a setting where it directs you to go get the finished good rather than the component. The next question is, can you create a sale based off a stock transfer? So the answer to that is no. However, we do log every stock transfer. So you can likely go ahead and create a sale really quickly based on an export of that stock transfer and then just importing those products into a sale. And if you need any assistance with that, just let us know and we're happy to answer those questions for you. The next question is, we receive in one location and have to ship the material to another location to be used at a later time. At what point is the product identified as the final location? So that one's a little bit tricky to answer. You can absolutely receive into a location and then go ahead and create a transfer to the other location as well. I'm not sure what you mean exactly by the final location, but again, Finale does track every single transaction and who did it. So if you're moving it from one place to another, you'll have all those records there, and you can also export all that information into reports. So if there's any issue, you can go ahead and take a look at those reports. Can Finale order barcode be printed on a packing slip and ShipStation, or do we need to use Finale? That's a great question. And we didn't show ShipStation in this particular webinar. We stayed strictly within Finale, but Finale absolutely can use ShipStation packing slip. So you could print your packing slip directly on ShipStation, and the barcode for the order ID that ShipStation uses is also compatible with Finale. So what that means to you is that your fulfillment team, if you are using ShipStation, can stay right there. And they actually don't need to jump back and forth between ShipStation and Finale. Our barcode scanner does interact with ShipStation packing slips, and in other words, their barcodes. Is there a way to add images to the scanner to see what we are picking? So that is something that we definitely discuss. It is something that we'd love to add. It's just not a current capability, but obviously that would be such a great help to a lot of people so that you can have a visual prompt of exactly what you're picking. I want to know if any return or build features are in the works for the scanner app. That, again, I'll answer it the same way. It is something that we have on our roadmap. It's something that we've definitely discussed, and we would love to have it right now. It's just not a current capability. But again, as we continue to advance our software, those are two things that, in my opinion, are very important. So thanks for that question. Next question is, does every warehouse worker have their own scanner? Now that actually that would be a question obviously for your team. It really comes down to how many scanners you need in the warehouse, how many pickers are working at any given time, for example. So really, it comes down to your business itself to determine how many scanners are needed on the floor, and also how many people need to have a scanner at any given time. If you have any doubt of how many or who should have it, feel free to reach out to us. We are very happy to answer that question and come up with a plan with you. The next question is, can you track expiration date? The answer is absolutely. You can, that lot ID field that I was showing within this presentation, that is fluid. You can enter anything that you'd like. It could be numbers, it could be letters, a combination of numbers and letters. And absolutely, to answer your question directly, we can track expiration dates for your products. The next question is, if a loose item is found in the warehouse and you add it to your stock using a stock change, how is the cost of the item applied to that product? That's a great question. And really, this comes down to Finale's valuation tool, which we use the average cost method. So whenever you find something in your warehouse, let's just say, you know, you found it in the back corner and now you're going to be putting this in stock using our stock change. What happens? Let's just say you're adding 1 unit, whatever the average cost per unit is for that particular product. When you find something and you add it via the stock change, that will go ahead and add 1 unit of value, i.e., if your valuation or your average cost is $10, to be clear, you add 1 unit, we would add $10 in value. And great question. The next question is, can you consume packing materials while picking orders? Now, for this particular function, again, this is something that we've definitely discussed. It is not a current capability of the scanner. So that is something that we don't currently do, is track the packing materials, i.e., your boxes, your bubble wrap, the packing paper, different things like that. Thank you for that question. And the next question is, can you update the standard bin ID from the scanner? So the answer is no. All standard bin IDs need to be added within the web browser. Now that can be done individually. You can do it via spreadsheet in bulk. Either way works, but to answer the question directly, no, you cannot add standard bin IDs via the scanner. And the next question is, you mentioned that the scanner needs to have Android OS. Is there a resource for the best scanners that meet this requirement? So the answer is yes. We do have a few recommended scanners. Now, to be clear, we don't actually sell the scanners ourselves. We are a software company, but we do have a partner that we work with. So if you're looking at what scanners we do recommend, please reach out to service@finaleinventory.com, and we will absolutely send out our partners information and give you the recommended scanners. And there's also a discount code that's included there. So a little bit of savings as well. The next question is, do the scanners come with the gold account level and above, or can it be purchased as an add-on? So at this point, we don't necessarily do add-ons with these scanners. So it does require a gold account level and above. However, if you did want to talk pricing with us, we are happy to hear what you have to say, and we're happy to have that conversation with you. Again, reach out to service@finaleinventory.com, and we can go ahead and work with you. And the next question is it possible to pick from the scanner and require to choose only a specific lot number? So for that particular question, I think I know what you're talking about there. Now, really, when we're picking a lot, it's all based on scans. But if you have a very, very specific lot that you need your fulfillment team to pick from, unfortunately, you can't pick that ahead of time. It's all based on the scan. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have a physical process in place of where do we pick from first, or what lot are we picking from first as well. So great question. And a couple more here while we have some time. Will this recording be available after this seminar? Yes, absolutely. What we're going to be doing is sending out a recording of this webinar. And to be clear, because we had an overwhelming amount of questions, we'll also be getting to all your questions in a reply email as well. So don't be alarmed if we didn't get to your question, no problem. We're going to be sending out an email, and that's going to include the recording and an answer to the final questions that we actually didn't get to. So thank you for that question. The next question is, when receiving, it allows the person to put the item in any sublocation they want. Can it preset the PO and make them put it into a specific sublocation? So the answer to that is no, but I will answer it in this way. Finale does have the ability to autofill. Well, in this presentation, you saw it's autofilling the quantity. However, Finale can also autofill the sublocation. Now, one requirement for that to happen is that it must be stock of that product in the sublocation already. So that's what we're going to be requiring there, and we can't have an a preset sublocation that you need to go ahead and receive to. Again, that can come down to the physical process of what's happening with the actual humans within the warehouse. And the next question is, when completing a cycle count, can Finale give a report of accuracy rates of the inventory take? The answer is absolutely. That is exactly what we do. We have the ability to track every single transaction. So what we call that is a variance report. And essentially, this will determine what was the current count on the shelf, what was the count during that stock take or that cycle count, and you'll get a variance there. And again, we're obviously tracking exactly who did what. So if you notice some sort of an issue, you can go ahead and use that as a training opportunity with your staff. Now, one more question before we close this off is, if you ship from ShipStation and it was shipped before it was picked and packed, can you go into Finale and pack it manually? So the answer is yes. If you go ahead and ship the order in ShipStation, however, you did not pick the order in Finale, we will flag a warning that says no packed shipment. And that's very simple. All that's telling you is, hey, we've received that shipment signal, but we know that we have not picked the order with that barcode scanner, and we're going to give you a warning for that, but that's totally fine. Yes, you can go ahead and pack it in Finale with the barcode scanner or manually. So what I'll do, I'm looking at the clock. It looks like it's 2:59, and I know that we're all busy and we have a ton of different things that we can do. So again, any question that we did not get to today in the webinar, we'll go ahead and send those out after the fact with a recording. And I just really wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to meet with us today. An overwhelming support of questions, overwhelming support during the actual presentation itself. So I really appreciate that. And this will be a series of webinars. So if you're interested in this type of thing, we will continue to do it. So thank you very much. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time.